Close your eyes. Imagine the year is 1946. America is quiet, too quiet. The guns of World War II have gone silent, but the echoes of loss are still in the air. Families gather at dinner tables with empty chairs that will never be filled again. But the nation's grief is not just from war. Just a year ago, on April 12, 1945, the heart of America stopped beating. Franklin Delano Roosevelt, the man who guided the United States through the Great Depression and the Second World War, was gone. The people mourned not just a president, but a friend. His voice had entered their homes through the radio, those famous fireside chats, soothing them in the darkest of nights. And so the U.S. Treasury decided they would honor him in a way that every citizen could hold in their hands, not on a monument, not in a book, but on a coin. The coin they chose was the dime, 10 cents. Why? Because Roosevelt had led the March of Dimes, a campaign to fight polio, the disease that had struck him at the age of 39, leaving him paralyzed from the waist down. By placing his face on the dime, the nation linked his legacy to a cause he had fought for with every ounce of his strength. Chief engraver John R. Sinnock was tasked with the design. On the front, Roosevelt's left-facing profile, the word liberty, the motto, "In God We Trust," the year 1946, and Sinnock's tiny initials, JS. On the back, a torch for liberty, an olive branch for peace, and an oak branch for strength. The words United States of America, e pluribus unum, and one dime encircled it all. January 30th, 1946, Roosevelt's birthday, the first dimes rolled out from Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco mints. Struck in 90% silver and 10% copper, each coin weighed just 2.5 grams, yet carried the weight of a nation's memory. Today, a worn 1946 dime might be worth only a few dollars for its silver, but the rare ones, the full bands with sharp details or the doubled die, can fetch thousands. In total, across decades of global sales, these coins have traded for tens of millions of dollars. So the next time you see a tiny silver dime from 1946, remember it's not just money. It's Roosevelt's voice in the dark, his courage against polio, and the quiet strength of a nation pressed into silver. The year was 1946. America was still catching its breath after the storms of World War II. The soldiers had returned home, the cities were trying to heal, and a new chapter in U.S. history had begun. But amidst the relief and the rebuilding, there was grief. Just a year earlier, on April 12, 1945, the nation had lost its 32nd president, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, the man who had led America through the Great Depression and the most devastating global war in history. The people loved him. He was more than a politician. He was a voice of reassurance during the darkest nights, a leader whose fireside chats gave hope to millions. And yet, fate took him suddenly. It was decided that his legacy should be preserved in a way that every American could hold in their hands, literally. So the U.S. Treasury and the United States Mint announced something special. They would create a new 10-cent coin, and Roosevelt's face would be on it. The design process began quickly in late 1945. Chief engraver John R. Sinnock was given the responsibility. He studied photographs and sculptures of Roosevelt, trying to capture not just the president's likeness, but the calm strength in his eyes. By early 1946, Sinnock had completed the obverse design, Roosevelt's profile facing left, with the word liberty on one side and in God We Trust below. The year 1946 sat near the edge. Beneath the neck was Sinnock's initials, JS. For the reverse side, the Mint chose a symbolic theme, a torch in the center, symbolizing liberty, an olive branch on the left, symbolizing peace, an oak branch on the right, symbolizing strength and victory. Around the design were the words, United States of America, e pluribus unum, Out of many, one, and 1 dime. The coin was officially released on January 30th, 1946, Roosevelt's birthday. It was struck in 90% silver and 10% copper, weighing 2.5 grams, and so, a small silver disc carried the memory of a giant leader, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, a name etched into the heart of America. Born on January 30th, 1882, in Hyde Park, New York, Roosevelt grew up in a world of privilege. His family was wealthy, his home surrounded by the quiet beauty of the Hudson River Valley. But while his childhood was comfortable, his life ahead would be anything but easy. After attending Harvard University and Columbia Law School, Roosevelt entered politics. He was charming, confident, and had a natural gift for connecting with people. In 1910, he was elected to the New York State Senate, beginning a political journey that would shape world history. But fate would soon test him in a way few could endure. In 1921, at the age of just 39, Roosevelt was struck by poliomyelitis, polio. The illness left him paralyzed from the waist down. Many thought his career was over, but Roosevelt didn't give up. He learned to walk short distances with braces and crutches. He hid his disability from the public as much as possible, not out of shame, but to project strength in a time when America needed it. By 1933, in the depths of the Great Depression, Roosevelt became the 32nd President of the United States. His message was simple, but powerful. The only thing we have to fear is fear itself. Over the next 12 years, he led the nation through economic collapse, implemented the New Deal, and stood firm against the rise of fascism during World War II. His leadership style was calm, steady, and reassuring, much like the portrait we see on the dime. When Roosevelt died in April 1945, the grief was so deep that the decision to honor him on a coin seemed obvious. But why the dime? The answer lies in his battle against polio. Roosevelt had founded the March of Dimes, a campaign to raise money for polio research. The phrase was a play on March of Time, but instead of minutes, it asked people to send just a dime to help fight the disease. Millions responded. By placing Roosevelt on the 10-cent coin, America was honoring both his leadership and his fight against polio. So, when you hold a 1946 dime, you're not just holding silver, you're holding a piece of history, courage, and compassion.
When the first 1946 Roosevelt dimes were struck, they rolled out of the presses at 3 major U.S. mint locations. Philadelphia, no mint mark. Denver, D. San Francisco S. Each mint struck millions of coins, but there were subtle differences. Collectors would later spend years hunting for perfectly struck examples, especially those with sharp details in Roosevelt's hair and the torch flames on the reverse. Metal composition and weight from 1946 until 1964. The Roosevelt dime was made of 90% silver and 10% copper, weighing 2.5 grams and measuring 17.9 millimeters in diameter. That silver content alone gave it intrinsic value far beyond its face value in later years, especially when silver prices soared. Special varieties, some 1946 dimes were struck with slight die errors. Doubled die averse, where the lettering and date appeared doubled. Full bands. On the reverse, the bands tying the torches, olive and oak branches are fully separated and clear. This became a key grading point for collectors. These varieties can fetch thousands of dollars at auction, especially in mint state MS-67 or higher condition.
International market value. In the standard U.S. market, a worn 1946 dime is often worth only its silver melt value, a few dollars. But in the international numismatic market, the story changes dramatically. Common circulated coins, $2,000, $5,000, due to silver content. High-grade uncirculated coins, MS-65 plus, 4 lakh, 15 lakh. Full bands, MS-67, 5 lakh, 7 lakh. Rare doubled die or proof-like examples, over 15 millions. When looking at all global sales of rare condition 1946 Roosevelt dimes, the combined trade value reaches tens of millions of dollars over decades, showing just how beloved and collectible this first-year issue has become. Even today, coin shows in Tokyo, London, or Dubai will have collectors huddled over cases containing this dime, their eyes scanning for that perfect shine, that crisp torch, that flawless band detail. Because to them, the 1946 Roosevelt dime isn't just a coin, it's a story frozen in silver.